finished nearly a whole bag of Takis, but the kettle chip version. So if I throw up, look away. I am running on pure Red 40 and dreams at this point. Dear God. Greetings and salutations, my dearest friends. My name is Samantha, and today I'm going to be talking about my recent reads. Well, it's more like my October wrap up. Is it late? Yes. Is it here? Also, yes. Hi. Hello. Hi. How are you? I mean that genuinely. How are you? Because I'm not great, but I'm here. And you know what? I'm happy that you're here too. And I really do mean that. I feel like this year and this past month has been so crazy with everything going on in the world. And I just want to let you know that I'm here and I'm happy that you're here. So yeah, welcome back to my channel. And today we're going to be talking about my October wrap up. October was a very busy month for me. November is a busy month. December is going to be a busy month. All the way up until March, I even have plans in March. You know what? It's going to be a very busy, next couple of months for me. So I'm a little late on things, and we're posting my October wrap up halfway through November, but sometimes that's just how it is. In the month of October, I only read 8 books, which is the least amount I have read all year. And kind of in comparison to September, I read 32 books in the month of September. To be fair, in the month of September, I was pre-filming a video where I read a paranormal or Halloween themed novella every single day for a month, and then I posted that in October. So 30 of those books were novellas, which is why the number was a little bit higher. Despite the fact that I didn't read as much as I normally do, I had a lot of 5 stars and really enjoyed everything that I read. So balances out, quality over quantity. I don't know. When I tell you, I am so overwhelmed these days. I feel like I have a laundry list of things to do, a mile long, and instead of being able to really tackle them, my brain is just on shutdown, hibernation, want to crawl in a hole type of mode, which sometimes you have to allow yourself to be that and process that to move forward. So yeah, October and even November, it was more about just getting out of the funk. So yeah, didn't read a ton of books. I will also say I didn't read a lot of books because I had a hyperfixation on several TV shows. I'll talk about the books I read in a second, but I only read 8 books. I am not a TV girly. I really am not. In fact, I don't even have a TV in my room. I don't really like TV shows. I tend to get bored with them very, very easily. I do love going to a movie theater with popcorn, candy, all that good stuff. But recently I was scrolling on TikTok, as I do, and I continuously kept getting these specific edits of a TV show, and it was the show called 911, and I was not seeing anything about this show other than these 2 firefighters that I thought were canon. I thought they were a legitimate couple because so many people were shipping these 2 characters together and creating fan edits that I was just seeing it over and over and over again, that I was like, you know what, gay firefighters, let me watch this show. And it ended up being hands down one of my favorite shows I've ever watched. I have not been this obsessed with a show since high school, since junior high, when I used to binge watch Supernatural in the 10th grade. I am very familiar with shipping 2 characters together, okay, and creating queer storylines, okay? The fan of Supernatural, obviously I've read Destiel fanfic. So yeah, I was very interested in the show because of the 2 characters, and I ended up loving everything about it, all of the characters, all of the storylines. It's just so good. Essentially what this is it is following various first responders responding to a 911 call. So you have the 911 operator, you have the police officer responding to the call, you have the fire station responding to the call. It more specifically really follows the life of a firefighter house, the 118 in California. It's a very diverse set of characters. There's lots of queer storylines. Something about it is just so compelling, beautifully written, and I just love the show so much. I binged all 7 seasons in the month of October. In 1 month. That is a foreign concept to me. I'm not a binge watcher, but when I tell you I have been binge watching the show, reading fan fiction, watching fan edits, creating fan edits, just I'm in it I'm totally into the vibe. So if you have any Buddy 911 fanfiction recommendations for me, give them to me. Another show that I watched in the month of October obviously was Agatha All Along. I'm a huge Marvel fan. Kind of like me and my dad's thing, our little bonding moment. We have watched Marvel and DC movies and TV shows together since I was in junior high. I remember going to like midnight movie premieres and watching the movies with him. So any Marvel DC franchise, we are all about it. And I love Agatha All Along. Just so good, just witchy and gay and camp. All the things. I'm sensing a theme here with all the shows that I'm drawn to. They're gay. Like me. Anyways, another show that I've really been diving into is Dancing with the Stars. I don't even know what season they're on. Season 33, season 35, something in the 30s. Obviously, I'm aware of Dancing with the Stars and I've seen clips of it like in the past, but I've never watched a full season since like Mario Lopez was on the show, okay? I was never intrigued, but the cast of celebrities that are on this show, I love them. I love them so much. I love Chandler from the Zombies franchise. I used to watch that with my younger siblings. I love our Olympic athletes, Alona and Steven. I love Joey, such a good bachelor. I even love Danny, Dwight. So many like likable storylines that are happening, and it's fun to like watch the show and the dances and then see people react to it. So definitely tuning in to Dancing with the Stars every Tuesday. Is that when it comes on, Tuesdays? Anyways, all right, so those are my hyperfixations and shows that I enjoyed in the month of October. Now let's go ahead and hop in on all of the books that I read. In total, I read 8 books, and then I had 1 DNF, which I'm not counting in my totals because I didn't finish it. Do you guys count DNFs in like your reading goal? It depends like how far along I got, but for the most part, I normally don't. Out of the 8 books I did finish, I had 5 stars. That's freaking wild. There are months that I read 20 plus books and didn't have that many 5 stars. So the books I was picking were pretty good. And then I had 2 4 stars and 1 3 star. So there was not a single book that I did not enjoy this month other than my DNF. The first book I finished was Your Shadow Half Remains, and I gave this 4 stars. This one I did vlog and it was a surprising 4 star. The reason I say surprising is because it is like a pure suspense mystery book, which is not my usual genre, but I loved it so much. I don't know if I would describe it as a psychological thriller, a psychological horror, whatever genre it fits in. It was really, really good. It follows our main character as she is living life through essentially what is a pandemic, which, you know, we're all very familiar with, but this one's kind of intense. She has not had human interaction for the longest time. This type of pandemic is that humans cannot make eye contact with one another, or it triggers something in their brain where they go crazy, become extremely feral and violent, and there is absolutely no cure. They don't know what's causing this, so everyone has just separated themselves from society. Our main character lives in a isolated cabin in the woods. A lot of her family and friends have already passed away, and she's feeling very lonely and also going through different stages of like hallucinations and dreams, until one day she ends up meeting someone new. There is a new neighbor that has moved into the forest that she lives in, and it follows the two of them as they are navigating this pandemic. The book feels like a fever dream. There are moments where you don't really know if it's like steeped in reality or just her subconscious and hysteria. And I loved the audiobook. It's technically a novella. I think it's a little less than 200 pages. So it's a pretty short novella, but it's so good, and I gave it 4 stars. Definitely more interested in reading more mystery thriller books because this one was a good one. Next book I read was Spookily Yours by Jennifer Chipman. This one has been on my TBR for the longest time, and I decided to read it for the novellathon and also October because it gives the perfect fall vibes. It follows our heroine who is a witch and lives in a very small town, kind of in a place where she is trying to figure out what she wants from her life. And as she's just like walking around going about her day, she realizes that there is a black cat that has been following her everywhere. She decides that she's going to go to the shelter and get a cat of her own because her familiar has recently passed away, and she sees that same black cat and cannot help but be drawn to them. Well, it turns out that this cat is actually a demon. Our hero was cursed by another witch to be a cat, and he desperately needs our heroine's help to break the curse. And it follows their romance. This is a small town, cozy, but still spicy romance. And it was just fun, okay? It was vibes. All vibes. Really loved it. This one is also a novella. It's technically over 200 pages, but the author is marketing it as a novella, so you know. The next book I read that also gave really amazing fall vibes was For the Love of Frights and Fritters. I gave this one 5 stars. It's another novella. The author kind of describes and markets this book as if Halloween Town was a cozy paranormal romance, and that is the perfect description. This gives such Halloween Town vibes. The description of the town and the characters, it's just chef's kiss. It follows our heroine, who is a century-old vampire, lives in a small town that is predominantly filled with a paranormal community, has her own bed and breakfast, and she also volunteers at the local bookstore. The owner of the bookstore is a witch, and her grandson is coming to visit. Grandson, our hero, is a handsome warlock that has lived his entire life in the human realm, so now he is really interested in acclimating himself into the paranormal community and visiting his family. However, his meddlesome grandmother is always setting him up on blind dates, trying to get him to be with someone, and he's kind of tired of it. So he ends up propositioning our heroine to have a fake dating situation. Our heroine has been like hopelessly pining for a hot werewolf in the town, but cannot get his attention to save her life. So she decides to go along with this fake dating scenario because it might make him jealous. They're both kind of benefiting from a fake dating situation, but of course it follows their romance. It's cute, it's cozy, it's spicy, everything I am looking for in a fall romance, and I really did enjoy it. The next book I read was Lost in the Wild by Casey Mint. This is a part of her Huddling for Warmth series. Casey Mint is a novella author I'm very familiar with. She will usually take like a trope or a specific theme and write a bunch of novellas, standalone novellas, surrounding it, and this one is all surrounding mountain men. The heroine is a journalist, and she has heard about this elusive mountain man in the forest, kind of like Tarzan vibes, and she decides that she's going to hike up there to interview him, but of course she gets lost. And when he finds her, he's kind of like annoyed, doesn't want to be interviewed, thinks that she's just a girl from the city, but it follows the romance. It is essentially a direct retelling of Tarzan, but in a spicy novella. It's fun, it's camp. I gave it 3 stars. I did end up rereading one of my favorite novellas of all time, and that was I've Walked Where You've Been by Marina Vivancos. If you have spent any time on my channel, you know that Marina Vivancos is hands down my favorite author of all time. I love her. I'm obsessed with her. She predominantly writes queer romances on Kindle Limited that are just so sweepingly romantic, deeply emotional, and so unique and filled with culture and just romance. Romance. I love her. And this is one of her novellas. She does have some full-length novels, but this is a novella. It is less than 100 pages, but it is giving you everything that a full-length novel is giving you. The chemistry, the romance, the backstory, the character growth, literally everything is in this novella, okay? And I actually ended up rereading this because I did a TikTok video where I was recommending like a book every day, and I recommended this one, and as I was like editing it, and I was like, wow, this is a really good book. I should probably reread that. So I read it off my own recommendation, actually. So this one is a male-male romance that features soulmates, okay? Characters exist in a world where soulmates are a real thing, okay? There's one person that is designated for you. And most people typically find their soulmate when they're a little bit older, in their 20s, in their 30s. However, our 2 characters find each other when they're incredibly young. They're like 9 years old. They are immediately thrust into a soulmate bond where they can feel each other's every single emotion, and they also have to be constantly around each other. The soulmate bond is so intense that soulmates cannot spend a great deal of time away from each other, or they begin to feel physically ill. Now, this is seen as a very sacred romantic thing. However, our characters quickly begin to resent their bond and each other. They are incredibly different, and they cannot find common ground, and very quickly start to resent each other over the years, constantly pulling away from each other and bickering and not understanding why the universe has paired them together, until they reach the end of high school. They're headed into college, and they realize that they really are going to be in each other's lives forever. They kind of like want to figure out why the universe set them together, and it ends up following their romance. And you're following these 2 characters who have essentially walked their entire lives together without really knowing each other, and you kind of see them learn to fall in love and communicate. Such a beautiful and intricate story, and for it being a novella, it's incredibly romantic, and I've never read anything like it. It is top tier. So I think about this novella often, I reread it often, and I give it 5 stars again. The next book I also gave 5 stars, and that is Cheap Heat by Lily Mayne. This is the 3rd book in her Goliaths of Wrestling series. This series is so fun. Oh my god, this series is so fun. It's a collection of male paranormal romances, and it follows a bunch of monsters who are professional wrestlers. Our hero Dan is a headless horseman and a professional wrestler. He is very cocky, very outgoing, just the life of the party. And then you have our hero Rafe, who is a little bit more quiet and introverted, and they have been neighbors for the longest time, and they do not get along whatsoever. Okay, they have constantly butted heads. Now Rafe ends up getting a job at Dan's wrestling ring as the IT guy because he's helping them stream the matches on a like exclusive paranormal website. So they end up being in force proximity. Get even closer when one day Rafe is at his house and he looks out the window to see Dan having some fun. Yeah, he really takes use of the fact that he can just like pop off his head, if you know what I mean. So he ends up catching him doing it, and at first being like so confused, but then being very, very intrigued. So the two of them kind of strike like a neighbors, friends with benefit situation. Love it. Opposites attract, enemies to lovers, has all the tropes that I want. There's something about this series that is so special. When I tell you like it's a male paranormal series with monsters who wrestle, you're like, what? But it works, okay? It is so hilarious. It's almost like a romantic comedy, but it's also very, very sweet, okay? The romance is still so well developed, and Lily Mayne just has like some of the best monster romances, and I love this one. Read a lot of male romances this month because the next 2 are from the same series, and they're both male romance. It's the Our Exception series by Cora Rose. I've finished this series by now, but in the month of October, I read the first 2 books in this series. So, how do I describe this series? They are male contemporary romances, and it follows 3 brothers who are, you know, not in the best place in their lives. They grew up in a family that wasn't really that accepting of diversity, especially queer romances. Their entire lives, they have been told by their parents that being gay is wrong. Our characters have a younger brother who came out as gay, and they were not accepting, but now that they are away from their parents, they realize that all of the things they did in the past was wrong, and they really are craving that relationship with their younger brother again, and kind of looking internally in themselves as well, and just, you know, learning to be more accepting, and in that they end up finding their romances and also discovering their sexuality. However, this series could potentially be triggering for some people because there is mentions of homophobic behavior, but you know, everyone has like a different coming out story, and there's something about this series felt very like raw and real, and you know, a lot of it I just understood from like my own coming out story, and I just really connected with these characters, and I just thought the romances were so beautiful, and I loved all the discussion. But again, it could potentially be triggering for some people, so make sure to read the trigger warnings. Anyways, the first book that I read is called Except You. The story follows Max and Bo. Max is one of the brothers that I mentioned. His brother came out as gay a couple years ago, and him and his family were not accepting whatsoever, and he has now ruined his relationship with his brother, and he's really wanting to make amends. So trying to understand his brother more, trying to be a better person and be more open-minded. He ends up meeting Bo at a bar. Bo is openly gay and so proud of who he is as a person, and Max cannot help but be drawn to him. Them end up talking. Max opens up about his brother, and they end up forming a friendship, and Bo kind of like offers to help him with any questions he might have. Two of them form a friendship that quickly develops into like a soulmate bond. Like, they are absolutely obsessed with each other. I love the way that Max is so obsessed with our hero Bo, and it's just so good. It's so romantic. I'm so sorry, guys. A bi awakening trope I will never ever get over. Like, I love that trope down bad. The book I read in the month was Suddenly You, which is the second book in the series. It follows Matt and Cooper. Matthew is, again, one of the brothers. The whole series follows brothers. Kind of seeing how his older brother Max has really just become his true self and become more confident and more happy, and he really wants that, as well as a relationship with his younger brother. He ends up going to his older brother's Max's wedding in Vegas, and he ends up waking up super drunk next to a man, and they're wearing wedding rings. Yeah. Cooper is Beau's best friend and is this very like extroverted, loud, charismatic person, and the two of them drunkenly got married in Vegas. Matt is freaking out because his entire life he thought he was straight, but he cannot help but be drawn to Cooper. He is in a place in his life where he is so lonely and sad and depressed. He really enjoys the bond he has with Cooper and just spending quality time with him. So it follows his romance as he is just learning to not only be more accepting but be more happy. And there's something like really beautiful about this one. I love all of the soft, tender moments in this book. I was technically the last book I read in October, but I have since read the last book in that series called Reluctantly, I can't say that word, Reluctantly You. I don't know why it sounds weird, but this one is the best one in the series. It's so, oh, it's so good. It's so good. Honestly, 5-star series overall, but I'll talk about this one more in later videos. Alright, this ended up being a super chatty video, even though I only read 8 books, but those were all of the books I read, kind of a life update, also some TV shows that I've been enjoying, so hopefully you guys enjoyed this mosh posh situation. I am taking a little bit of a sabbatical because 1, I told you my mental health is all over the place. 2, I'm going on vacation, but I will be back in the month of December to do Vlogmas. Fingers crossed. I'm trying to pre-film as much as I can so I can participate in Vlogmas. So you might not hear from me for a little bit, but never fear. I will be back with Vlogmas videos. So if you have any ideas of Vlogmas videos that you want to see, let me know in the comments down below. I would love to do them. And that's it. If you stayed this long in this very, very long video, what should you leave me? Leave me an emoji. How about you leave me some fire trucks? Or like a firefighter. I know there's firefighter emojis because 911 is like my hyperfixation right now and I love it. So leave me some fire truck emojis in the comments down below if you stayed this long so I know that we're bookish besties. As always, thank you for taking time out of your day to spend time with me. It means the world to me. I hope you guys are all staying happy and healthy, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!